It's a pleasure to meet you, Mr. Dourif.
And you.
I'd like to ask you a few questions about Curse of Chucky.
Sure.
How is working on Curse of Chucky different than the previous 5 times you've done it?
Oh, that's a very easy question to answer. The big difference is that my daughter's playing the lead in this.
Yeah.
And which makes it probably quadruply exciting for me.
Mm-hmm. Did you get to work directly with her at all during this movie?
All my scenes with my daughter are as the doll, which I voiced before she was cast.
Oh wow!
So, but I brought my other daughter, who is well, she's not my daughter, she's my stepdaughter really, but she's also an actress, and I brought her in with me. And I cursed and screamed and went after her. She read with me so that I would have somebody to react with. So I mean, you know, I kind of a little bit did.
Is it? How do you feel about your child going into acting? Is this something you were dreading or something you encouraged?
I neither dreaded or encouraged it.
Okay.
Fiona is very much the artist of herself, so to speak. I mean, she really, and she was seriously bound and determined not to be an actress, which was fine by me. I got her a job on as a PA on Deadwood, and David Milch, even in the interview, was kind of like talking to her and said, you know, and I want you, and how come you're not an actress, kind of thing.
Right.
And then he wrote something for her, and she said, I'm not going to do it. And then my girlfriend said, Fiona, David Milch is writing something for you. You need to do it. And she said, okay. And she's been hooked ever since.
And you've taught acting before, yeah?
Yes, I taught it. I taught directing actors at Columbia University.
Excellent. And what sort of advice would you give onto a child as opposed to a student, or is it all the same?
You mean advice
like
to
just acting lessons? Is it? Do you teach your child essentially?
Well, as far as acting goes, you draw, you know, the canvases from life. So if you're going to study acting and you're going to go to college, the best thing to do is to get a liberal arts education, study, major in English or psychology or anything but theater arts.
Well, I made a mistake then. I majored
Yes,
in
you
theater.
see, you're totally wrong. You're absolutely. But you know, most people do because all they really want to do is do it.
Right.
And that's great. And you should do as much of it as you possibly can. But you know, to really, if you're going to direct, you need to know music. You need to know how to write. You need to know how to act, and you need to know how to paint, really.
I know you've worked a lot on the stage in New York. Could you comment perhaps on the difference between the acting you do for a live audience as opposed to the film acting you've done?
The fundamental difference between acting for camera and in a scene and acting in a you know, theatrical is everything happens right then and there.
Right.
So the scene before you is feeding the scene that you're doing now, and that will feed what you're gonna do, and so on and so on and so on, and it's a ride.
Yeah, for sure.
And you want to get a ride when you're working on film, but it's more difficult to get to it. The great thing about it is that I always loved rehearsal, because that's the puzzle. That's the figuring out what is the scene and what do I got to do to make it work. And that was always thrilling, and that's what making a movie is. That you're always in the puzzle.
Yeah. What was the puzzle for Charles Lee Ray, if any?
where exactly that level of hatred would come from and why.
Yeah.
And then how do I get to feeling that hurt and that frightened? Because those kinds of things are always fear-based.
Yeah.
And, you know, trying to find in myself that kind of level of fear.
I recall you a certain period in the 80s where you appeared in many horror movies.
Yes.
And you don't do it so much anymore, which is, we get to see more range, but is it something that you had to move away from because it was too fearful, or did you just crave more variety?
I didn't really move away from horror, ever. I just got more other things to do.
Yeah.
And I began to get very connected with child's play. So, so that was kind of really, and I did a lot of horror. I still continue to do horror. I don't think I've ever really stopped doing it. I just started getting work from other things, which was nice.
I have one more question.
Sure.
This is sort of the sucker punch question. It has nothing to do with anything. What was the first record you bought with your own money?
Bob Dylan, Bringing It All Back Home.
It's a good one.
Yep.
I've had some embarrassing ones in that school before. Well, I guess that's it. So that's all we have time for. But thank you for speaking to me.
Sure.
Appreciate
My
that.
pleasure.
Yeah.